everyone. Hello. Good evening to you all on this Saturday night. Welcome to You Can Talk. My name is Ruth Finney, and we are here tonight to talk. I have a very special guest, this phenomenal trailblazer that you all are seeing in front of me on your screen is Dr. Arlene Siller. She is a grant writing and fundraising expert who started her grant writing career 25 years ago. And she has actually secured 49, probably over 49 million at this point, I imagine, in funding and reviewing grants in the scientific and biomedical research sectors. However, 6-7 years ago, she transitioned her expertise and abilities into a nonprofit, into the nonprofit arena, where she has raised over 35 million in a period of just 4 years for a multi-state organization, and in the midst found her calling to serve nonprofits. She is the founder and CEO of Ascend Nonprofit and Business Solutions, which has now become one of the most sought after grant writing firms in the industry. Not only is she a business owner, a mother, a very dear friend of mine, but she is also a servant of God and has sought his guidance willingly and at times in blind faith as he has guided her in every step of this journey in fulfilling her purpose. Welcome, Arlene.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here. This is awesome.
Good. Hello, Minister Terrence. How are you? Welcome in. I'm going to take just a couple seconds, Arlene, just to kind of greet the people coming in.
Sure, absolutely.
So I'll stop and then I'll kind of just greet them privately in the chat. Hello, Harrison. How are you? Good evening. Good to see you all. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate you all coming in. I hope if you all missed the introduction, it's okay. You can rewind later, but I appreciate you all. So Arlene, tell us, I've known you for many, many years now. I was trying to think back how many years I'd actually known you, and it's been at least 20, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
It's been at least 20. So. Yeah. And life has taken you through so many transitions over the years, truly. Did you ever imagine this level of success for your life in an arena that you actually didn't set out to conquer?
Absolutely not. I set out, originally in college, my goal was to be a doctor. That changed. I then, found a love and a passion for doing biomedical research. I really just thought I was going to conquer that area. And I did in some aspects of it, but I thought that my whole life would be at a lab bench and that I would be, giving talks on whatever research I was doing. So I had no idea it would lead here and that I would be even more successful,
I know. Yeah. Yes. And I mean, has it been hard for you to pull away from your love of science?
No, actually, because I still have some clients who have, scientific endeavors that they're engaging in. So there are times that I get to, do that and write a grant for them. I'm actually doing that this weekend. And so, I still get aspects of being able to be in the sciences because I still do grant writing. So.
Good.
Yeah.
Hello, Edward, how are you? Welcome in. Good to see you. We appreciate you all being here. Give us a little background on how your original career goals not only sort of led you to create Ascend, this grant writing business, but actually has prepped you for it.
Yeah, I mean, I had no idea at the time that any of the things that I had engaged in would ever lead me to this point. But, I always tell people God wastes nothing. So when I look back over my career, I can see places where his hand was really in it. And he led me into doing certain things that really, led me to this position. For instance, in science, I wrote proposals, I wrote grants, really to get my own science funded. Science is very much an ego kind of centric field. And so if you don't have funding, you're doing somebody else's work. It's their brainchild. It's them who got the funding for it. and you have to follow their fund, the way that they structure their research and everything else. And I really wanted to do my own. I was determined. And so when I look back at that time, I was always funded. And I never knew that was in preparation for the grant writing I was going to do later on. When I went back to get my PhD, I wrote a grant to NIH, and I got my PhD completely funded. So I walked away without any loans or anything else. And then in that process, I found out that my advisor could receive money for having me, because at the time, and it's still the case today, but we have a shortage of American scientists and researchers. And so the NIH would pay advisors as well to have American students. So not only did I pay for myself, but they paid her to have me in the lab. Once she figured out this little racket thing going on, she had me writing proposals for a bunch of American students.
Wow.
So I wrote for her, and I wrote for other people in the department, and I was always funded. And science, that was really outside of the realm of any, I've worked on NASA space shuttles. I've worked on, Goodyear tires. I've worked on tiles for, big baby department stores. I mean, just, everything all over the place, and in addition to biomedical devices. So, it was all in preparation. I feel for this point that I have gotten to today, and just having that diversity of being able to write for many different sectors of fundraisers.
Right. What was it like writing that first proposal? Like, was that something you were asked to do, or you just took it upon yourself to do it?
No, I was very blessed from the beginning to have my first job right out of college. Have wonderful, wonderful bosses who to this day I'm still friends with. And they really encouraged me as I worked with them. They would give me assignments that would really push me. And they also were the reason that I went to get my PhD. I never got my master's, so I went straight from a bachelor's to a PhD, because they really encouraged me. And they said I could do it, and they were PhDs themselves. So I said, okay, well, if they say I can do it, I can do it.
Yes.
And, so I went and did it, but really just they were amazing bosses. Now, I will say the negative of having amazing bosses right out of college is you sometimes go downhill from there, because I didn't have good bosses all the time, but they were really excellent. And so my first writing assignment was something that my boss at the time, Cheryl, gave me to do. And she said, I want you to try this. And when I gave it to her, she said, okay, I'm going to cover it in red, but I want you to get past yourself, get past your ego, get past your pride, and just absorb what I'm telling you. And I just approached it that way every time they corrected my work, and it just got better and better and better. So really, had it not been for them at that onset, I probably wouldn't have gotten to this point. And, the reason she gave me that assignment was from a selfish perspective. She wanted me to relieve her of that duty. And, here it is, a career, 26 years later. And she actually, the science one that I'm working on this weekend is from her dad.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So pretty neat. She gives me work still.
Yeah. Most people who, kind of start out writing grants, I mean, it's a long, arduous process. And it's something that people usually, I imagine, do try to pass on to someone else, right? That person coming up under them. So how did it get to a place where it was something that you actually began to enjoy?
Well, when I transitioned from science into the nonprofit sector, I just absolutely loved this nonprofit that I was working for. They help small businesses with access to capital and business education, and predominantly for minorities and women and veterans. And I just love the mission. I loved the fact that we were helping people start something from scratch, or continue a legacy, or start a legacy that they could leave to their kids. And so that was a great motivator for me to just be a part of that. That nonprofit was also very well connected within my city. So within that, I got to work with many other organizations and the city and the county in drafting proposals that we all were part of. So I got to be part of a bigger network of fundraisers that were trying to make a difference in my city, and specifically on certain sides of town where it was predominantly people of color. And so that was a huge motivation for me, is that I could create change by the job that I was doing, by bringing money into my communities, my neighborhoods, and, people that I knew that had businesses.
Right. So at that point, it didn't matter what the work looked like, because the cause was so much bigger and so much more important.
Yeah, and it was a fun organization to work for as well, and I was, I was treated very well, and rewarded as far as compensation was concerned. And I realized that along the way, one of the things that I had picked up in the science world is the other job that would get tasked to me that my bosses didn't want to do was training everything from high school students all the way up to doctors. And so whenever they came in for, whether it was a sabbatical or they were doing an internship or something like that, I would have to design projects for them. And I was in charge of what they were doing and making sure that they met their milestones. And at the end, they had to present to all of us. So that prepared me for the work that I was doing at the nonprofit, where I had a bunch of interns that now we could crank out tons of grants. We would write over 178 grants a year, which is really high, in order to achieve the goals for this organization, which were in the millions. And so that's how we were able to do it. But the preparation early on to create, really tight projects that, had goals and objectives and people could accomplish within that time frame, it gave me that structure, and it gave me that insight of how to create a department like that just runs effectively and efficiently.
Yeah, how to really streamline this process that can really take a long time when you don't know what you're doing. Hello, Edward Smart. How are you? Good to see you, true fan. Welcome in, Burns. I appreciate you all being here. Thank you so much. Arlene, was it difficult because like I said, I know you loved what you did. Was it difficult for you to accept that God was leading you into a different direction than what you had planned for and worked for, and to embark upon something that you really didn't have any assurance of, other than knowing that, a lot of times people who go down this road, their new businesses tend to fail.
Yeah,
was it hard for you?
It was challenging, and you mentioned at the beginning when you gave me the intro that I willingly followed God. I'm going to correct you on that, because I wasn't always willing, and in this case, I really was not. I was argumentative and headstrong and defiant, and a brat sometimes. When even though I loved that job and I loved everything that I was doing, it is a very, very high pace, deadline driven, high goal position. And so year after year of this, it really started to take its toll on me from a stress perspective, because I was working anywhere from 60 to 70 hours a week. And, you can't keep up at that pace forever. Plus I was a mom, and I was getting a divorce and everything else. And so in that process, it was a lot of stress. And so the stress took its toll on my body, and I ended up with adrenal fatigue. And it was the worst experience for me ever, because I'm a person who's always on the go. I'm juggling 15 things at one time. And it got to the point where I couldn't even get out of bed, and a shower was an effort. And I was so frustrated. I felt trapped in my body, because my brain was still going, but my body would not. It completely just closed down. And it was challenging, because I couldn't get a doctor to really help me figure out what was going on. And I was looking for this magic pill of, give me something so I can get better and get back to the life that I had. Yes. It really was just a time where I believe now, being able to look back at it, that God was just allowing that to happen. He carried me through all of that. I have, my health is wonderful now, but it's something that I had to go through, to sit still and hear him And even when I heard him, I kept saying, but I can't do that. But I'm a mom. I need to have some security. What mother, single mother goes out and just starts a business? 50% of them fail. I knew all the statistics because I wrote about them. And so it was like, I can't do this as a single mom. I don't have startup costs. I don't want to take out a loan. I don't want, we were just, he wasn't arguing with me, but I was arguing
with him. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So, you can tell who won.
Yes, always. Right? If we're honest, he always wins.
And thank God he does, because sometimes we just don't know what we need. And if I didn't answer it, I can't imagine just not having this life now. I would have missed out on all these blessings.
Wow. That's amazing. So was it on your radar to, sort of know how you were going to make that transition? Like did you think, oh, you know what, maybe I should teach people to, do what I'm doing? Or how did that thought even come to you?
You mean just in starting my own business first?
Yes,
or
so like you got sick, God is sitting you down and you're like,
Yeah.
I know I need to make a change in my life. How did you, decide how you were going to make that transition? Did you think I need to have my own business, or do I need to find another job that's taking up less hours?
I thought about taking another position because I thought maybe I'm just burnt out here. Because the other component of me is I know I get bored quickly.
Yes.
So I wasn't sure if it was that, but he kept really driving me back to the small business. And it was, he was sending me signals through different things. So God speaks to me a lot in my dreams, I think because it's the only time I'm still, but he does speak to me in my dreams. And so there was a very definitive dream that I had at that time, he comes to me in different forms. So I hope I'm not offending anybody, but for me at this point, he sort of looked like a Tibetan monk who I couldn't understand. These are just my dreams. I don't know. Take it up with him. But we didn't speak the same language, but I could clearly tell that he was directing me in this building. I was building something on a beach and I don't know what it was, but so there was that component of building. And then at the same time, T.D. Jakes, who's one of the ministers that I listened to, had a series called Thur on a book that he had come out with.
Phenomenal.
On, Christian businesses. So that came out at the same time. And then there was this Facebook ad that came across my feed with a woman who had a program, a course called Building Your Business with God. Yeah. So there were all these signals that were being sent to me. And so when I finally made the decision that I was going to do what he asked me to do, the next part was I had to prepare myself, my family. And, fortunately I had, great, my partner, Dion, he's just wonderful and supportive. So he was really encouraging me to get off the hamster wheel, which is what I was on before. Yes. And so he was really encouraging me with the business. And so we came up with a plan of what that would look like. And I saved for my initial money. We came up with, what the initial startup costs would be for me, which were really pretty low. And then I designed a business plan, and I had my friend who I worked with in the previous nonprofit. She looked over my business plan and really helped me just solidify it and ground it in what it would look like and how I would get this up off the ground. So all I can say is with all of that preparation, he just blew it all out of the water, and it did better than any of our projections had been at, and she has years of experience in working with thousands of small businesses. So she really helped to ground me in my small business plan to make sure that I could meet certain milestones. And we weren't expecting it to be profitable, maybe just a little bit. I was just going to make enough. And it exceeded.
Above and beyond
everything that we all thought. So
yes. Now your business, it's not a nonprofit. Your business itself is not a nonprofit. Okay. No. But did you yourself as a small business apply for grants?
I have, especially during COVID. when COVID first came out and there were many grant opportunities. I think total now, maybe what I have received is about $15,000 in grants. Also 0% interest loans. So everything that came out, I took advantage of. Right now there is a program that is being paid for by another funder. And, it's a business professional development course that normally would cost $6,000. I'm applying for that. So anything that I can, I apply for myself, for my business.
That's awesome. That is phenomenal. What were some of the challenges that, I mean, you seemed that it seems that everything sort of ran so smoothly for you and sort of fell into place. Were there any challenges that you experienced or faced that, you had to figure out how you were going to get through?
I think the biggest challenge at first was I think I expanded too quickly. So I hired an employee. I hired 2 employees. And so that put a lot of pressure on me to not just meet, salary for me, but for 2 individuals. Looking back, that was not the best decision to make back then. I should have just started with the model that I currently have, which I use consultants for everything now. I am the only employee for my organization. So that really just takes a lot of that pressure to make sure everybody else has their salary for their family. And, I think about all of that. And so now it's just, I just need to really worry about myself. And then obviously those individuals that do work for me on that contract basis. But that was the biggest challenge, honestly.
That was the biggest challenge. Yeah, I can imagine.
I was very fortunate because I had been in that small business arena. So I was very well connected to people in the community that could help me. So, for instance, the person that did my business plan, she was a friend of mine. One of the lawyers that I had take a look at my first contracts and things like that was somebody that I knew. So I reached out to my network. And that was another huge thing that I think, God blessed me with early on, is that I've had this network of people, and I meet amazing people, doing all kinds of work here and nationally and stuff like that. So he's definitely blessed me with connection.
Yes. How important has it been to develop those good, positive relationships with people when you're networking? How
It
important is
is
relationship?
absolutely critical. Your business, your nonprofit, chances are pretty good it's not going to do well without them. You're either going to pay more for services because you don't have those friends, or just as an example, just through a network that I'm part of, somebody found out I did grant writing. She sent me an RFP. I landed a $30,000 contract, from that one connection. And so I really did little advertising for my business. The first year, it was all by word of mouth. And so network is critical. And as far as the business component of what I do, there was so many things that I just didn't know. And without my network of people to just call on and say, hey, can I pick your brain for a minute? I don't understand this aspect of things. I'm not a marketing person. And so when I wanted to market on Facebook and do some of the other things that I'm doing, I needed help. And, even something as simple as, creating your website. I didn't create mine myself, but I had to get someone who could help me not only create the content that was on there, but the process, and find a person that could do it, and just manage that. And so, I've just been very blessed from that perspective. So I love connecting people. That is part of what I do. And I think that's one of the things that differentiates my business from others who do grant writing, because I'm always looking for those opportunities where funding will be larger. If I pull from this organization and I pull from this organization, we could put in for $1 million grant where each of them might only get $250, if they went in separately. But if we come in together, it's a bigger pot of money. And so I'm constantly looking for that connection. And I do that in my own business, on the daily.
Yes. You mentioned that, what's been great is that you've been able to develop these relationships and that a lot of these people were friends that you have come to meet, have come to know through, different things that you've done. When you are needing help because you don't have the money or when you don't know exactly what it is you need to do, how do you approach a person who, maybe has what you need, uh, but you need to ask them what is that? What should that approach look like
Yeah, I mean, first of all,
when
if
they're
you're
not a friend?
yes, if you're a small business owner, and that includes a nonprofit is a business, and this is one of the things I always try and tell my executive directors and CEO: you are running a business. It's a social impact business, but it's still a business. But just so for those of you out there are many, many free resources that the government pays for that you can receive. So check out your Small Business Administration's Women's Business Center. There's also veteran business centers. Your local universities, especially if they have a business school, probably have these opportunities. So there are free pro bono lawyers that will take a look at a contract for you. And they'll design one if you don't have that. There are opportunities for you to connect with people where you barter services. You might be good at web design and somebody else might be, better at social media marketing, and y'all exchange stuff. So there are tons of opportunities. And honestly, I used a lot of those in the beginning, so I didn't have to pay for those services.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And so with my friends as well, it was never just like, hey, friend, come and do this.
Yeah.
I'd always find a way to insert myself into whatever it was that they were doing, even if it was just promoting them. So on my own social media, if I had a friend who did, like I had somebody who did a logo and stuff like that for me, I promoted them, even though they didn't want payment from me. But, they were able to secure other business because of what I did. So I think, just looking at every opportunity to work together. I mean, we're all connected and God intended us for us to be that way. And so the other thing too is that I've been very fortunate to work with people who are also Christians, and it's a core component of their business, just the way it is with mine. And so I think just that network of people who really see this opportunity to bring God to people through their business, not just through church, not just through, Bible study, not just through a fellowship, but by the work that we do. And I'm fortunate to work with so many organizations that I see the hand of God in everything that they're doing. So it's a real blessing from that perspective.
Yes, I agree. I agree. Let's talk a little bit about grants. A huge part of securing a grant is getting your message across. Through your years of experience, how did you discover that storytelling was a more effective method of delivering a message rather than writing just those traditional sort of boring proposals?
Well, I mean, you just said it. Nobody wants to read a boring proposal, right? I mean, you
Yes.
just don't. So the thing that connects us, if you think about your favorite show, or you think about, even something like what you and I are doing here, you're going to connect with me through a story. There's something that you're going to remember from that person's story. And that's what TV and everything on Netflix is designed to do, is to draw you into that story. Well, the
Yes.
same thing is true for a nonprofit. And so they have amazing stories to tell, and so many of them don't include it. And so how are if you have a funder, they're reading hundreds, if not thousands of proposals. How do you stand out? And if it's just that boring thing, you're probably not going to get in there. But when you can give them the unexpected by telling that story, now you've got them engaged. And if everything else is good within your organization, you're financially healthy, your leadership is healthy, and you can tell that story, because you tell the story with narrative and numbers. My students, because I also teach grant writing.
Yes.
But I tell them your numbers are just as important. They tell the financial health. They tell how you can manage
Absolutely.
money, how your organization manages money, how they plan for the future.
Right.
we found in COVID that so many organizations were not prepared, and that many of them have either merged or gone away, right?
Yes,
And
absolutely.
so why weren't you prepared? And so there is a story to tell when an organization has been around for a long time, or even one that's just starting off. What are your plans for that future? But in terms of the people that they serve, those stories are so impactful. When your organization can touch someone's life, you don't come in as a hero, but you help to transform someone's life. And if you don't tell that story, you are just missing out on dollars. Let me tell you, because people love stories.
Stories equals dollars, huh?
They do.
How many stories can we come up with? I mean, and really, when you look at advertising today, when you look at people who are trying to sell a service, sell a business, sell a product, they start off with their success stories. They're telling you, hey, this person did this. I used this for this long. We took on this service and it allowed me to accomplish this, achieve this thing that I never thought I would be able
It's
to
all
do.
about transformation, and you've got to tell that story.
Who doesn't love a transformation story, right?
Everybody loves it.
Everybody wants to see the before and after. And then they want to know how you did it.
Yep.
Absolutely. So, besides storytelling, I know that's, a huge part of what has been successful for you. Are there any other methods of communication that help knock down some of those barriers that tend to keep small businesses, from profiting or from being funded?
In all situations, whether it be someone's own business or whether they're an executive director or CEO of a nonprofit, if you can't get out of your way, you are going to hurt your business. So if you label yourself as shy, if you tell yourself, I can't go out and network, nobody wants to meet me, if there's a lot of negativity in your head, guess what? Your organization is not going to be successful. You have to get out there and know what you know and be willing to talk to people about it. Now, is everybody going to be receptive? No. But the other thing too is that the message that they get might not be for them right now, but it could be for years later. You never know. And so, you have to get out there and be comfortable with, if it's your business, get out there and talk to people about it. Your name needs to be associated with the thing that you do. And your message needs to be clear, right? So if I tell you, well, I do grant writing, but I also do, bookkeeping, and I also do a little bit of social media, you're not going to know that I know anything. You're going to think I'm a jack of all trades, right?
Right.
So whatever that one thing is that you do well, hammer that home with everyone. That is the thing that you talk about consistently. If you're running a ministry or a nonprofit, that's the thing that you talk about to everyone, and so you got to get out there and you got to tell your story, and you have to do it in different circles, because you just never know who you are going to touch, who your conversation is going to mean so much to them that they will either give you business, give you a donation, volunteer, catapult you, introduce you to someone else. You just never know. Right. You miss out on opportunities if you don't get out there. So if you have a hang up, whatever it be, yes. Go seek help and go and learn to do what you don't think you can do. Yes. Because you can learn it, get a coach. If you're having trouble with the networking aspect, find a coach that will help you network. If you're having trouble managing the business, hire someone to help you get it set up. That's what I did. I hired someone to help me just set up everything, set up my books, tell me what I need to label. I didn't want to get to tax time, and I did it all wrong for a year, So I hired someone for a couple of $100s, and it was one of the best things I ever did. Absolutely. She told me exactly how I was supposed to put things in my QuickBooks. I had to learn QuickBooks at the same time I was writing grants and building my business, So, just whatever it is that keeps you from getting your message out there, like break through that, let that stronghold go, because there is a world that needs what you have to provide. God gave you a gift, and to keep it to yourself is really a disservice and dishonoring him.
That is so true. That is so true. I always feel like, and I always say that God will meet you where you are. you know. Um,
Always.
and how many times do we hold back because we feel that we don't have everything in place, right? I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. So, and then we wait. Well, I'm learning how to do this. Well, I'm going to figure out how to do that. Or as soon as I can get this done, then I'll go ahead and take that leap of faith when God is saying, no, I need you to move now. You
Mm-hmm.
know, one of the things that I keep on my desk is a little sticky note that says, walking with God is the safest place to be, even if he has you out on a limb, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and he always has us out on a limb. That's where he
Always.
wants us to sit all the time. It's like, can you please just give me, you know, a
Uh-uh.
tree trunk? You know,
Can I
he
just be
wants us
comfortable
to,
for a minute?
yes, yes.
He's like, nope,
He
no.
wants us to be in that constant state of discomfort so that we are always
Always
leaning on
coming
him,
back to him.
seeking him, you know, like, God, please help me. Are you still there? Are you still there? You're really quiet right now.
Yep, absolutely. I am
I
100%.
totally, I totally understand that. So let me ask you this. How much involvement, once you know, get that funder, you've written your grant, they've accepted your proposal, you know, they're just elated by your story. How much involvement do funders have to have, or how big does their voice become in carrying out the mission that you've set forth once they decided to fund your project?
It depends on the funder.
It
So
depends on
some
the
just want to give you the check and they're going to let you do what your organization does. And then they have you check in periodically, whether it be, you know, reports or an email or a phone call, whatever their contract states with you. Others really want to get in with you. So especially, you know, like if you think about corporate funders, so think of the big banks, let's just take, you know, Bank of America, Chase, Wells Fargo. They have corporate responsibility teams, and they encourage their employees to get out there. So they want to partner, you know, with these nonprofits in terms of, you know, being able to serve the community together. So, you know, what does that look like? Well, maybe they give financial literacy classes, or, you know, they maybe they do a match when people, you know, in certain neighborhoods open a bank account. They'll match, you know, dollar for dollar up to a certain, you know, a dollar amount. It all just depends on the funder. Others want to actively be engaged. Now, no funder that I know at all has ever told a nonprofit, this is how you need to do it. If they've chosen to fund you, it's because you already align with them.
Gotcha.
So they're not going to tell you how to do it, but they want to do it in partnership with you. So one of the things that some funders who are more engaged will do, which I love, I think it's amazing, is they'll bring everybody that they're funding together in a particular sector, whether that be housing or food insecurity, you know, or mental health. They'll bring them all together to share best practices, to talk about what they're learning in their communities, things that are working, that things aren't, so that the knowledge is spread across everybody. And, you know, so I love when funders do that. I think it's an amazing thing because they have a very different level of perspective. They're up here and they have
Yes.
seen everything that everyone has submitted to them, the good, the bad, the ugly, the funded and the unfunded, right? So when they have that opportunity to bring us all together and we have the opportunity to learn from each other, you know, especially depending on the city that you're in, maybe it's not so progressive, right? So when you get someone from a bigger city, you know, like Detroit or, you know, Chicago or whatever, and they have things that are working in their communities that have done really well, well, then that's something I can bring to my community because I already know it works. And I have
Absolutely.
people that I can call on. And so, you know, I love when funders do that. I think it's amazing.
Yes. That is awesome. That is awesome. I want to just open up the floor a little bit. Also, if there is anyone in the chat that has questions, I know she has given out so many great nuggets that people will want to, you know, look back. And if you've missed any part of this, I really encourage you to go back and watch. We have several people here. And if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. I'll open the floor. I will continue to talk with her. But if you pop in a question, you have something that you want to ask, please go ahead and I will interject it within our conversation. I see Burns. How are you? I'll go ahead and, you know, say hello to a couple of you all. Edward Smart, good to see you. I appreciate you all being here. Let's see. I agree. Bring God through the work. Ferns also says, I love a transformation story. Yes, say that again, Arlene. Don't hold it. Hello, Modest Nation. How are you? Welcome in. I appreciate you being here. All right. Running a business on any level really can be a life altering, very time consuming, sort of energy draining, and yet it can also be a very rewarding endeavor. Can you share with us just one of your success stories?
Well, I mean, I think last year when COVID hit, I was, very concerned, just as everybody else was. I started to have clients that were, reaching out to me and saying, "Hey, we need to pull back our contract. We need to do this. We need to do that." And at first, I freaked out. I'm
Yeah.
like, "I just got this started. Please don't do
Yes, yes,
this."
yes.
And I had another thing come across my Facebook feed that was a huge 21-day challenge that someone was putting on. And it just sort of intrigued me. And I thought, okay, my work is kind of cut back a little bit. So let me go ahead and do this. And it was the best thing ever because and it was thousands of people from all over the world that were part of this, big business challenge. And they were bringing in these amazing speakers. And I'm talking speakers that, command $20,000, $50,000 in
Yes,
engagement,
yes.
and they were doing it for free to just really. And the person who was giving it was also a person, who's a Christian. God was part of it, so they focused on business, they focused on family, they focused on faith. They had amazing speakers, just all from all over the world, and it was just tremendous amount of encouragement. And so in that, I had this other, dream to teach people to do grant writing. Because one of the things that I have seen is that when you get to certain levels within nonprofits, you will see people of color who are doing the work on the ground. But as you get up in the executive level, you tend to see less and less people of color. When the board who makes decisions for the nonprofit, most of those people are not people of color. Yes. And they are serving on a board for a community that they don't even know. I have been part of boards, and they, no, shade being thrown at them whatsoever, because I'm grateful for the fact that they even do it.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, if you're serving a community that you've never even driven in, you've never lived there, you don't even know people from there, but you're trying to decide what's best for that community, there's something wrong there, right? Yes. And so for me, I really wanted people of color to learn this craft and be able to bring in, dollars into their community. Because while, big things like Hurricane Katrina or, water in Flint, Michigan may draw attention for a certain period of time, the truth is those people leave, right? The people that were there to help for that moment. But there's people who stay there, people in that community that are the boots on the ground that are still helping their community. They're doing it day in and day out, but they're killing themselves because they don't have the money to come in. They don't know how to fundraise. And so for me, that was something that was really important to be part of my business. And so I wanted to teach this. And I didn't want to just do it here, and I didn't want to do it in person. Of course, we couldn't at the time because it was COVID and everybody didn't even know how to wear a mask at that time. So, for me, it was like, with that challenge that I had been part of, one of the things that they really promoted was that you do this virtually. And, so I had curriculum, I had everything. I knew exactly the way I wanted to do it. I just didn't know how to do the virtual stuff. I didn't know how to do a funnel. I didn't know how to, collect payment. I didn't know what platform to put it on, all that kind of stuff. And, God just connected me again to the right people who did all of that stuff. And I got my second business up off the ground, which is called Grant Yourself Success, where I teach people how to do grant writing. And, my goal was for it to be people of color. And I didn't know how to grab those people from Facebook. I had no idea how to do that. But on accident, our accident, not God's accident.
Yes.
I put up a picture that had, I'm very cautious when I promote any aspect of my business. I try to include, and it's a very challenging thing when you have a business, is to find pictures, positive pictures of people of color, right? And so, for me, in putting out my information on Facebook, I wanted something that showed people of color winning, right? An award.
Yes,
They got a
absolutely.
check. So
Yes, yes.
I found this picture, and it did have different people of color and ages and genders and the whole thing. And in the front were two African American women who were holding the check. And we changed the picture and put your organization here, $250,000, whatever it was,
Right.
So Facebook just automatically put me with people of color.
Uh-huh.
And I have no idea how the algorithms work. Maybe some of you do. I have no idea. But anyway, it worked. And so the wonderful thing is that I now have hundreds of students taking that class. And I will say probably about 90% of them are people of color who are learning to do this.
Phenomenal. Yes.
And their stories of success and the things that they are doing now and the money that they are starting to bring into their organizations and what's able to happen is just amazing. And even sometimes it's not money. Like I had, one student, I tell them, learn to tell your story, right?
Right.
And so you do it in a grant, but you also do it verbally. And so we talk about working on your pitch, and that's something that in the business you have to do as well, but you need to learn that from a nonprofit. So she goes to go buy, she has budgeted for a van. She needs a van for her nonprofit. And she finds one that's available for, the $12,000 or whatever she had budgeted for. She goes and she meets this man, and he asks her, what are you going to use the van for? So she remembers, tell your story, right? Yes, so she starts telling him the story. She got the van for free. Okay, now there was no stopping her, right? Now she's like, is that telling everybody her story, just everywhere, going around telling the story. She got a second van. And the second van needed a little bit of work. So she had money set aside for it. She got it for free. So she goes and she takes it to go get the work. She talks to the guy there about what she's doing. He gave her the labor for free. All she had to do was pay for parts. So she got two vans for $350.
Oh, stop. Oh my gosh.
I mean, it was just amazing. I had another person, they have an organization out in California, in Los Angeles, and they help sex trafficking victims, get away from the situation that they're in, find family that they can connect with, the whole thing. And, it's become such a big problem. We all know that. And so she was really outgrowing the little bitty building that she had been donated, that somebody had donated to her. And so, when I tell them, go tell your story. So she had a building that she was considering. And so I said, when you meet with the commercial real estate person, ask them if you can talk to the owner, and just see if you can connect with them. So he was a little reluctant, but he agreed after a while. So she had the conversation with the owner about what she's doing. Well, he was so motivated by the whole thing. They had to have a sale. So he agreed to sell her this building in downtown Los Angeles for $1.
The amazing thing about this is that there are so many people out there in the world who are ready and looking for people that they can help. Mm-hmm. But people don't get the help because they don't ask. They don't put themselves out there. They don't tell their stories. They don't network with people. They don't even say hello to people. How many times are we in an elevator with someone, or walking down the street next to someone, sitting in a room, sitting at the DMV next to someone who could change our lives, but we don't even know it because we don't even take the opportunity to speak. I've met so many amazing people on planes and, in different walks of life and different spaces of life, and been able to connect with them and learn things about them and, find information that has been useful to me or useful to someone that I know. And all because I was willing to open my mouth.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're able, and in this case too, you're connecting with someone and giving them that opportunity to be a blessing. And that's the other thing here is that, people are willing to help you. One, like you said, Ruth, you have to ask, but the other component is they want to give, and you just need to give them that opportunity. And that's part of God's plan for them as well, is that gift that they give. And if somebody has that money to give and they're willing to do that, there's nothing wrong with it. And that's the other mindset that I have to get, a lot of people to get over. It's okay to ask for money.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's not for you personally. Get your pride out of there. This is
okay to ask for it, and it's okay to take it. Yes. It's okay to ask for it, and it's okay to take it, because a lot of times, we feel like, and especially, and I'll call us out, people of color, we feel like, oh, I don't want nothing from them. I don't want them to feel like they own me. I don't want them to feel like they have a say in how I do things. I don't want them to feel like I'm a charity case, or what. We come up with excuses for their intentions. And they may have completely different intentions. We don't know what their intentions are. So we miss out on those opportunities that are just waiting for us to grab. Like they're sitting there waiting for us to grab.
Yep.
It's unbelievable. How important was it for you? Why was it important for you to include this type of, training where you're teaching other minorities, anyone to learn how to write grants? Why was it important for you to have this? You could have just continued to do your business, run your business, make money, but you took the time to say, I want to start another piece of this where I'm actually training others to do this. Because a lot of people feel like if I train somebody else to do what I do, then they're going to take business from me. They're going to be my competition. Why were you able to do that? Why was it important for you to start that aspect of it as well, include that?
Well, I knew that, this business came from God, because it wasn't something I wanted to do. I argued with him. He got me to do it, and he blessed me at every part of it. But I was very fortunate. My very first couple of months into my business, that woman that had that Facebook ad on building your business with God, I took the class from her. And, one of the first things that she said is you need to let go of that mindset of keeping things close. Yes. Because if God is blessing you to do this, he's going to continue to bless your business. God magnifies the blessings. So there's not like it's just so many for you, and there's just so many for her, and there's just so many for him. And so stop looking at people as competition. There may be people that only want what they have to offer, but there's going to be people who want what you have to offer. So once I learned that and I let go of that, one of the things that I have continuously heard from my students, and even people who take my webinar, but they don't attend my class, is people will say things like, you give your information so freely, whereas they've been on other webinars and somebody's like, oh, I'm only going to give you a piece. I'm only going to give you this much.
Yeah. If you want more, you have to do this or that.
Yeah. And fortunately, the Christian business people that I have worked with, we've all talked about give it. First of all, it's not mine to keep. God gave me this gift.
Absolutely.
God gave me this gift. And it's not just in my writing abilities, but it's in my ability to teach other people, because then guess what? The legacy continues if I teach. And I teach people how to do it so they can do it themselves. And then they teach other people, and that magnifies it. And they teach other people correctly, because unfortunately in this position, people learn by trial and error. And if you learn the wrong way at the beginning, 5, 6, 10 years later, you're still doing it wrong. And so if I can teach people at the beginning to learn to do it the right way, and they keep multiplying that, then that's my purpose here. It's not to keep it to myself. I cannot die with the knowledge and it's somehow going to resurrect me. It dies with me. And what a sad thing to have that happen when we have been given this gift. It's not mine.
Yeah.
I have no right to any of the stuff that's in here.
Yes. You literally just in that one statement said like 3 different Bible stories, right? Like the fish with the 5 loaves of bread, he had just a little and God took it and magnified it, to so much. the one guy who he was given a talent and he held on to his talent, but the other guys took the talent and spread it, and God blessed it and multiplied it. But the other one was so concerned of holding on to his one talent that was all he ever had. I mean, so many. And then when Jesus taught them how to fish, he said, I'm going to teach you how to fish, not just, you just go fishing.
Just do it for you. Yeah.
Right. I could do it for you, but I'm going to teach you how to do it. Like so many Bible stories in just that one statement that you made. So people, we don't think about that. We don't think about how those Bible stories actually translate to our lives and how we work and how we do things and how we move and be in the world. So thank you for bringing that up and mentioning that. I'm sure that during this time of the pandemic, we are getting ready. We have about four more minutes here. Again, I'll open up. It's open. If y'all have any questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat. If not, we'll continue to talk, and you can go back and watch this, dissect any part of it that you missed or that you wanted to hear more about. I'm sure also, Arlene, that during this time of the pandemic, where many people have lost jobs and they're really beginning to rethink their careers, rethinking, what can I do that will allow me to work and be pandemic proof? If something like this happens again, I need to be able to stay employed. We have people in the chat right now who have lost jobs and are looking for ways to earn money. What kind of qualifications or skill sets does a person need in order to enter into this line of work? And is it something that they have to do full time, or can they do it part time?
No, I mean, they can do it part-time. They can do it. I'm sorry, I'm getting feedback. I don't know if that's me or you. But they can, one of the things is, I don't believe that you need a degree for this. You just need to have that willingness to learn. It is writing. So, if you're a hands-on person and has to be out and active and moving and all of that, this isn't the job for you. You're sitting here in a seat for hours, and you got to get creative and you got to do all of that. Yeah, you're behind a computer, so know where you work and how you work your best. And if this isn't it, then don't go here. But I don't think that you need a degree to do it. You need some good writing skills, right? And the rest of it is what you learn in terms of how the organization functions, and your job is just to communicate that out there. And so you take what they're doing and you listen. So listening is a big component of this, to figure out how it all works. And then you've got to put what you heard down on paper and make that connection. And I think it's a passion for it as well. And then some good training behind it. Because it doesn't matter how passionate you are, if your writing is all over the place and it's not clear in terms of what you're doing, nobody will ever fund you. So you've got to get some training behind it. When I was at the other organization, a lot of the interns that I took in were intentionally, I took in people of color. And I also took in, like some women who were transitioning back from being stay-at-home moms, or people who wanted to transition in careers. I was really focused on those individuals. I wanted to give them that opportunity to start putting stuff under their resume. So you can volunteer with an organization to learn to grant write with them and to help them in that perspective. So you don't have to do this full time, but the more that you write, the better you get.
And how does it work, Arlene? Do you get a portion of what the grant brings in, or do they pay you separately? Is it like a percentage? Is it like real estate,
Yeah, no, it's not. So that's actually considered unethical in our field. So we don't, there are people who do it, I will say that, but I do not practice that. So
they write their funds in the grant.
Yeah, we determine, how many hours it's going to take for us to do a grant for someone. And at this point, I've gotten pretty good to be able to know what that is. And so, with that, we then give them a quote as to how much this grant is going to take, and then our hourly rate, and that's what they will pay for it.
And do they pay up front, or do they pay if money comes in?
So It depends. If I get the sense that it's someone who's probably not going to pay me on the back end, then I will have them do. So, I mean, I'm doing God's work, but I also understand that I'm operating in this
That is some
world
good
and
business
I need to get
wisdom.
paid. So, there are some that I do require an upfront fee, especially if it's someone that I've not worked with before and they don't have a lot of experience in this area. Because I have gotten burned with people who have asked me to do something and not paid, right? And that was a challenge for Arlene not to, take that and deal with it.
Yes, yes.
But God always tells me, I've got this. Don't worry about that one. Let it go. Focus on these. And he's always provided, even in that sense, even when I wanted to do something else. So, yeah. So, some I have pay up front and others I'm comfortable with. Once the job is done, then I bill them and then they pay.
And is the sky the limit for the income?
Absolutely. Every dollar amount that I have put as a limit for me, I honestly feel at this point, there is nothing I can't accomplish.
Yeah.
There's a ton of money out there. And I'm talking billions of dollars, especially now after COVID and race relations and all those types of things. There's even more money out there, and it's mine for the taking in terms of what I can bring in for the organizations that I work with, and God's going to take care of our business. He's my CEO, so
yes,
and
absolutely.
who has better connections and able to make it happen?
No one I know, no one on this earth.
Yes.
All right, Arlene, I cannot thank you enough for coming on and sharing this just extremely valuable information with us, and how you've used communication and relationships to build this business. And I'm so proud of you as a friend who has known you for years and just watched you literally catapult yourself into a whole new, level. And really just to see though how you have, built and strengthened your relationship with the Lord, and all of it is just been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure and a blessing for you to be, such a dear friend. And I appreciate you being here and giving us this time and sharing your skills and your wisdom and your knowledge with us. For those of you who are interested in funding a grant or figuring out how to fund a grant, if you have a nonprofit or profit business that you all want to run, you're looking to find some funding, or if you're looking to learn how to write grants or understand how the grant writing process works, if you think that it's a business that you might be interested in or qualified for, again, this is Arlene Siller, and she is the founder and CEO of Ascend Nonprofit Business Solutions. She's on the internet. She is her website. I will link all of her information down in the description below, where you can reach. She has a phenomenal website, very easy to read, and she tells you all of her services and how she works and how she does things. So I'll link all that information down below. What's next for Ascend, Arlene?
Well, I think I'm going to engage in an online challenge to reach, thousands of people, to try and get them into the course. And then I have other digital products that I'm going to be, bringing to the masses as well. So, one of the things that I have found in working with smaller nonprofits is that they're just not grant ready. And so I want to, produce a product that will help them get grant ready.
Awesome. That's phenomenal. I appreciate all my guests for being here. Thank you all for giving me your Saturday night time. I don't take it for granted that you all have chosen to given me this time in your life when you could be anywhere doing anything. I really do appreciate you all being here. Arlene, I'd like to close out with a prayer. So I'll go ahead and say a quick prayer if you don't mind, and then we will head out. Father, thank you so much for who you are. Thank you for this time that you have allowed us to share with others out here in the world. Thank you for the gifts and the talents that you have put upon Arlene, and thank you for her willingness to be able to step out on faith and do that which you have called her to do, and for her to do it so well, Father. We are the ones that shortchange ourselves. We are the one that puts limitations around ourselves because we don't believe you. We don't walk in faith. We don't trust that you, who knows all, who created us, who knows what we are capable of, you know what you have equipped us for, Father. We tend to doubt that. But Father, thank you for giving Arlene the courage and the strength to walk in that faith. And just, Father, pray that you promote her business, that you bless her business above and beyond what she could ever ask or imagine. Continue to bless the nonprofits that come to her, the small businesses that come to her. Help her to pour into them and allow them to pour into others. We thank you for who you are, all that you've done, and that which you are still yet intending to do. Bless everyone in the chat, those who'll be watching the replay, and just continue to be who you are. Thank you for being who you are in our lives. We love you. We thank you. These things I ask in your son, Jesus' name. Amen.
In Jesus' name, amen.
All right. Take care, everyone. I will be back here on Monday for class, and then I'll have my tips coming out on Tuesday and Thursday. So don't miss next week's lessons. We will be talking about religion next week. All right. You all take care. Have a good night. And I'll see you all next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.